publishers as per the demand of your syllabus, and we have kept the three important scientific or academic journals which are looking forward for the publication of the scientific articles. In that we have got the Nature, Springer, and the Elsewhere. So here, apart from that, we have many more publications which can also be considered as the most academic reputed journals. Even those also we can have it for the publications. However, by knowing some of the importance in the life sciences, especially in the botany, we have kept only those three. One is the Nature, which has been considered as one of the most pioneer or most reputed and most readable journal uh, in the scientific arena, where the followed by we have got the Springer as well as the Elsewhere. Apart from that, we have also got some of the most reputed journals, the Wiley publishers and the Hindwai publishers and JSTOR publishers. That you can see all those in the first slide of the today's session. One is the Nature, which is considered as the which has been considered as most the reputed journal, and it has been started in the again 200 years back. Followed by we have got the Springer, and at the right hand corner side you can see there is a tree, the Elsewhere publisher. So these three are the most important journals in the life science. It doesn't mean that only these three are the important or reputed one. Apart from this, also when it comes to the academic publications, Nature, which is considered as the first, foremost, the important academic journal, which has been considered as the pioneer journal. Followed by we have got a different journals. But by knowing the importance in the relevant field, that is in the life science, especially in the botany, we have kept the three journals, the Nature journal, Springer journal, as well as Elsewhere. Nothing but these three are not just a single journals. Nature comprising a many number of journals having different disciplines. Nothing but one in the Nature, it has been Nature, Springer, or Elsewhere. It will be considered as the hub of journals. Each publications, each publishers, it may be Nature publisher, or it may be Springer publisher, it may be Elsewhere publisher. They are having sub disciplines, and they are having thousands together of journals. For example, if you want to publish an article in the nanoparticles, in the Springer we have got a specialized nanoparticle journal. In Elsewhere also we have got a specialized nanoparticle journal. Even in the Nature also we have got a specialized nanoparticle journal. So these are the publication agents or agencies, or these are this will be having this will provide different journals for the publication in the different fields, and that we'll discuss in the coming slides. And in the today's that I don't want to stick myself to the only the Springer, Nature, as well as Elsewhere. So what happens, these journals are daily or frequently used to update. Nothing but today some journals may be like there are some journals which will run under the Springer, and there are some journals which will run under the Elsewhere, and there are some journals which will run under the Nature publications. In tomorrow they may be eliminated. Tomorrow some new journals may come into publication in act. So I don't want to make it more clumsy and more doubtful by explaining the total number of journals and details of the journals of the Nature publications, Springer publication, as well as Elsewhere publication. And out of that, I would like to give you some of the common publication patterns which have been followed in the Nature, Springer, as well as Elsewhere. Is that clear? Shall I go to the next one? If people have to respond, shall I go to the next one?
ಸರ್ ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಲೇಟ್ ಆಗಿ ಜಾಯ್ನ್ ಆಗಿದೀವಿ ಸರ್, ಗೊತ್ತಾಗಿದೆ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಟಾಪಿಕ್ ಏನು ಗೊತ್ತಾಗಿದೆ ಸರ್.
Pardon, Gurukiran?
ಸರ್ ಅದು ಲೇಟ್ ಆಗಿ ಜಾಯ್ನ್ ಆಗಿದ್ದೇವೆ ಸರ್, ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಗೊತ್ತಾಗಿಲ್ಲ ಸರ್ ಅದು ಫಸ್ಟ್.
Okay, no problem. The late I mean, just I was talking about the different publications which are involved in the publication of your scientific articles. In that we have got many. Some of the logos I have put here in the what we call in the present slide. But as per the demand of your syllabus, we have got as which are showing more interest in the publication of the life science articles. There we have got the three most reputed journal publications.
Okay, sir.
We have got three most important publications. In that we have the Springer, Nature, as well as Elsewhere. Can I go to the next one?
Sir. Okay, sir.
Yeah. Okay. Right. And so again, most of the journals which will be considered as the reputed one, which will be considered as high-end academic journals, and they may follow a common features or a common pattern. And that is what I would like to present in the today's class. First, coming to the content, what actually mean of a publication, or what actually the publication requires in or what I mean to publish your scientific articles. What are the requirement to be made? So that you already know that how to articulate these scientific articles and how to propose your results, introduction, and all those things in a journals in your manuscript, and how you are going to publish that in a scientific journals. So to meet out the requirement of scientific journals, you are following a different style guides. Apart from that, you need to know some of the patterns of the publications. I mean, after the preparation of your manuscript, you are going to submit it to the more relevant, more what we call more suitable journals, which has to be which has to be thoroughly searched in the different publications of the, I mean, those who are involved in the publishing the journals. So first, that most of the scientific articles what we are talking today to publish in the academic journals are more precisely written by the active researchers. Nothing but the one who is working in the research laboratory or in the higher education institutions or in the universities, those who are involved in the research, in the laboratory experiments. It may be a student, higher education student, or it may be a research scholar, or it may be a professor, or it may be any person who is directly involved in presenting the scientific article in the experimental results, and those will be having the knowledge as well as those can write the articles, and that can be published in scientific journals. So usually what happens, we talk about the articles, even the journalist, professional journalist also will write the articles, but that particular articles which have been written by the journalist is not being precisely said as these are the evidential results. Even it may be an opinion, it may be assumption, it may be hypothesis. A journalist can write, and that can be published in the daily newspapers or the magazines, or in the frequently publishing what we call the novels, all those things. But when it comes to the scientific or academic articles, those academic or scientific journals, the person one who is working in the laboratory, it may be a student of one who is conducting the research, or it may be a PhD students, or it may be a research scholar, or it may be a scientist, or it may be a professor, one who is directly involved in the research. Those can write the manuscript and they can publish it in the scientific articles or scientific journals. And to meet out your requirement, there are 1,000 number of scientific journals are there. Nothing but today I will be working on the let me tell you that I'm working on the nanoparticles, and someone will be working on the plant tissue culture, someone will be working on the embryology, someone will be working on the stem cells. So what happens? So if you have only one or two journals, all four we cannot publish it in a single journal. So what happens? There are thousands of journals which are having a different scope and different fields of the specialization. Accordingly, we need to search and we can publish them. So for that, we have got thousands of journals. Even the Nature will be having Nature publishing agency will be having thousands of journals. Even the Springer is also having thousands of journals. Even the Elsevier is also having 1,000 journals. I mean, more than 1,000 journals. There you need to find out which journal is suitable to publish your article. And there are most specialized one, as I already told you. But one more point to be remembered, that the Nature, which has been considered as the most pioneering publishing agent, that accepts multidisciplinary articles. Something but they may, which has been considered as a novel. So you can publish the articles based on the stem cells. You can go for publishing the articles based on the COVID. You can go for publishing the articles on the humanities. So there are some journals which can accept multidisciplinary field publication or articles. It doesn't mean that only there are narrowly specialized journals are there to publish your manuscript. There are some other journals which will accept the multidisciplinary field articles which have been written by the scientists or students or professors. And most of the what we consider as a reputed one or the peer-reviewed one. So let me highlight here that the peer-reviewed one. What do you mean of peer review? We'll tell you in the coming slide that in the coming slide, but we would like to give some of the highlights of the peer review that most of the reputed journals, after the submitting your articles, that will be evaluated by 1, 2, 3, or 4 number of the experts of that particular or relevant field. For example, I have submitted an article or a manuscript on a nanoparticles. The one who is expert in the nanoparticles, that will be reviewed. 1, 2, or 3 persons will review that particular submitted articles, and they will come out with an result. It may be accepted, it may be published, it may be rejected. That comment will be considered further by the editor of the journal. That will explain you clearly in the coming slide. So the pardon, hello.
Sir, stuck aglatid sir in between adಕ್ಕೆ
stuck ಆಗ್ತಿದೆನಾ? So the peer review ಅಂತಿದೆ. So what do you mean of peer review? So here what happens? Your article will be analyzed. Your article will be cross verified whether the publishing, whether the author has given the submitted the article is having the standards of the journal or not, whether it is maintaining the quality of the standards of the journal, and whether the valid whether the article which have been written by the person is scientifically validated or not. All these will be evaluated by the peer review committee. So we'll tell you in the next slide here, where what happens after the publication, it is going to become a permanent scientific record. For example, for 100 years back I have submitted an articles, even today also you can access it, right? But you can go for advanced studies of that, and you can even criticize that particular the report which have been published by me 100 years back. But it is being said as the permanent scientific record once you publish that manuscript in a journal. What are the scopes of the publications? So we have got many of the scopes to publish it in the articles. The first scope is that articles, the scientific or academic articles which will be published in the scientific journals usually be the evidences or the experimental results after obtaining through the research and higher education. Nothing but just by the hypothesis, just by random opinion, that may not be considered as scientific articles or scientific results. Only that has to be experimentally proved, that has to be hypothetically what we call scientifically validated one. Those will be considered as, those will be published in the scientific journal, where the scientific articles which will further give that up-to-date information. So what happens, will be going for reviewing, nothing but the review of literature will be done. So after that we'll be going it for the citing those previously published articles, and further in continuation to the previously published data, you are doing something new, you are doing something novelty in that, and you are doing something innovative, and so that you are providing the new results, innovative results, as well as novelty results to the audience, and through the form of scientific articles, where the scientific journals or the academic journals will give you the platform to publish your articles, to publish your results, to publish your experimental evidences to the what we call the more related or the general audience. So what happens during that times, you are going to cite the previously published articles. What happens? So I am working on nanoparticles. I will be looking forward to study the previously published data on the relevant subject, that is the nanoparticles. So I'm not going to study on embryological aspect. I'm not going to study on the anatomical aspects. If I am publishing an article on nanoparticles, I will be looking forward to review only the nanoparticle related data. So I will be citing more relevant nanoparticles for previously published data during my article preparation. So what happens? It is going to increase the citations of the previously published data. Apart from that, in the future also, what happens after your publication, the future researcher will, if they found more suitable, if they found more relevant to their result, they will again cite your article. So what happens? The citation is the most needed metric in the publications. So more the number of citation, nothing but it can be said as your article or your manuscript is being more what we call considered more what we call been reading by the most authors. So what happens if I feel I want to cite the Rasika's paper, and someone will come again, and someone will come and they will start citing the Rasika's. So if the number of citations are more, then it will be said that Rasika is doing has published a tremendous results. Because of that, she is getting a more number of citations. More number of persons are referring that particular paper which has been proposed by the Rasika. So what happens if your results are if the results are some quite confusion, doubtfulness, then what happens? The future researchers will not go for citing your articles more. And one more point is that what the main scope for the higher education is that most of the recent textbooks or the research books what we are today referring, it is a reference books or the results of the recent developments which have been coming across in the scientific arena. So what happens, let me tell you that. So in 15 or 20 or if you go back to 30, 40 years back, we were just knowing that only the secondary growth in a plants. We are not aware of the anomaly structure in the plants. So because of some scientific results in the anatomical aspects, we have come across that anomaly structures in the stem as well as the root. Similarly, so that after knowing the evidences, after that we can put all those primary anomaly structure in the textbook so that you people can refer it. So what happens? The textbooks or the references book, even the school books are also improvised, revised frequently only based on the recent developments which have been taking place in the relevant field. And one more point is that the funding bodies, what happens? Most of the results for conducting the research, most of the funding bodies will assist you financially to go ahead with that. So what happens after the financial assistance? They will ask us to publish the articles in the most reputed journals. So what happens during that times, we will acknowledge the financial assistance provided by the different funding agency. So it will help the funding agency that they may again in future they may give you further assistance, or they may some other person will seek the funding assistance from the same agency for the research. What happens? We have to acknowledge the funding agency for their financial assistance to conduct the work. Now coming to the publication process. So what happens in the process of a publication? So once the author is prepared, articulation of the scientific, once the articulation of the manuscript is ready, then you are going it for publishing it in a, you thought to publish that article in a more relevant journal. So during that time, you need to search for the more relevant journal. Usually what happens, the researcher or a student or one who has done the research will be will publish the articles. Nothing but in a a professional journalist will not be having any of the research ideas or laboratory experimental research, so he cannot go for publishing it in a scientific journal. But the one who is said as active researcher, he will be having the evidences, he will be having an idea, and he can go for publishing his scientific data in a scientific journals. What happens once your articulation is done? You are going to submit to a more relevant or more precise journal. At that time, you need to go for searching of a journal. So once you find more if the particular journal is more relevant, then you will go and submit your articles. So what happens once after submission? The initial process is the editor. The editor will go through in detail about the article, whether the particular article suits to the scope of a journal or not, whether the article is appropriate to the particular journal or not, whether the article which have been submitted by the author is having any potential scientific novelty, or whether it is having any innovative ideas, whether it is having any experimental novel evidences. So once the editor is found suitable for that, then that particular the first phase of the publication is been transferred to the second phase. What happens once the editor feels in this particular journal, the particular article is meeting all the requirements of a journal, then it will be sent for the peer review. Nothing but here the editor will find the experts, other 1, 2, or 3. He may find out one reviewer, or he may find out 2 reviewer, or he may find 3 reviewer. So what happens here? So again, I would like to give an example that the nanoparticles. I have submitted nanoparticles to a nanoparticle journal. Then he will send my article to the expert who is good in nanoparticles. What happens? So once 1 or 2 or 3 persons will be considered, those who are considered as expert in the nanoparticles will review my articles, my manuscript. They will review whether it is having the results are correct, whether is there any ethical issues, whether there are any plagiarism, whether there are any copy information, whether there are any duplicate information, whether the data which have been proposed by the author is having any false or doubtful information. All those will be evaluated by the expert during the peer review. So after that, once they have completed, they will send back those reviewed information with the comments to the editor. So what happens during that time? The editor may receive some of the comments as the by the reviewers as the particular manuscript may be rejected, may be accepted. The two possibilities. Rejected means it has to be rejected, and you have to withdraw the paper, and you can go for publishing in a different journal. Or if let me tell you, if the reviewer is accepted the paper and he may come out with a major or a minor correction, nothing but he may come out with a opinion that the present manuscript can be accepted with minor corrections. Minor correction, nothing but he may ask you to go for statistical analysis. He may ask you to go for some of the grammatical error. He may ask you to go for some of the incorporate some of the photographs. All those things can be a minor corrections. Sometimes he may ask us to go for accepted with the major correction. Major correction, nothing but he will ask us to conduct one more experiment, relevant experiment. He will ask us to conduct one more, the same experiment one more time. He will ask us to change the photographs, complete photographs, and he may ask us to write the results one more time, more precisely, so that we can avoid the doubtfulness of the results. So all these things can happen. Finally, the comments of the reviewer will be received by the editor, and the editor will send those comments to the author. The author has to make corrections according to the reviewer as well as editor opinion, and that particular once the article is accepted, and it will be published in 2 to 6 months. Finally, it will be coming out in the form of a published articles in the 2 to 6 months. Some of the journals may take around 25, 28 to what happens the 60 days for the publication, and some of the journals they may take around 6 months to publish. So again, depending upon the speed of a journal, depending upon the frequency of a journal, the articles will be published. This is what the publication process is. That clear, guys?
Yes, sir.
Is it clear, guys?
Sir, ಅದು ರಿಜೆಕ್ಟ್ ಆಯ್ತು ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ ಇನ್ನೊಂದ್ಸಲ ಇದು ಮಾಡ್ಬೇಕೇನು sir?
So what happens if it has been rejected? The reviewer will send you the comments why that particular article has been rejected. So you need to look into the comments of the reviewer, and he will suggest you some of the comments. So accordingly, you need to prepare, and you can go for publication in the next time in the same journal, with the same journal, by making those corrections.
Okay, sir.
Or you can go for searching another journal which you can publish your article.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Fine. Is that clear, guys?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now coming to the type of articles. I think, but these three publishers, Springer, Elsewhere, as well as the Nature. Apart from these, there are many other publishers also. But let me stick myself to only these three. So these three journal publishers will accept the different types of articles. It may be a letters, research notes, articles, supplement articles, review articles, data papers, video articles, as well as inverted articles. Let me explain you each and every one. Letters. So letters are nothing but these are the very short, recent, most needed information. For example, in the present situation, we have got the COVID pandemic. So what happens? So if you found any novel information about the COVID and you want to publish it in a 1 or 2 pages, and those will be considered as the letters. So because of the most needed and a very short note, that article will be published. Because of those articles, those manuscripts will be considered as the letters. Nothing but most needed and most discussed recent topics which have been published in the form of 1 or 2 pages are considered as the letters. Coming to the second one, the research notes. For example, research notes are nothing but most improved protocols. For example, everyone is aware that the protein estimation can be done. One of the example I would like to give, protein estimation can be done by Lowry's method as well as the broad format. So, for example, tomorrow someone will come out with a simplified, easy protocol for estimation of a protein from the plant, and those will be published in the form of a research notes. Got it? And now coming to this third one is articles. Articles may be a research article or a original article. So as that we already discussed in my previous class, that it will be comprising an abstract, everything will be there. Apart from that, it will be containing the tabulations, it will be containing the evidences of, in the form of a tables, in the form of images, in the form of
results, all those things will be there, and it may be around 10, 12, 15, 18, or 40 pages. Right? And supplement articles. The supplement article nothing but once there are some, after writing the articles, after publish during the time of articles, you may feel that there are some supplementary results need to be submitted. Though they are not directly helps you to understand the articles, but to bring out to justify your articles, you need to submit some of the supplementary data. For example, supplementary data. So you have gone for collection of plants in a Chincholi Wildlife Sanctuary. So they have got some of the plants, and you are given some of the new species points. So the supplementary data is that you need to give the GIS location, the geographical location of that, and some of the relevant association of that particular plant. So in the name of supplementary articles. Review articles. Next, you already know that survey, summary, summarization, as well as cumulative information of a previous published data, which you are going to publish it in the form of only one article or only one manuscript that is being considered as the review articles. And next is the data papers. The data papers is nothing but, for example, so if I want to publish the area of a globe, it's again a data. So you want to publish an area of a Dandeli Wildlife Sanctuary, then again data. So you want to publish the movement of the satellite in an orbit, again a data. So all these will be considered as the data papers. And the video articles. Sometimes what happens, there are some experiments which after doing that, they require video evidences. Nothing but after getting the output, you need to show whether how they are coming out, and to ensure the to make it very clear that, so you need to go for recording of that video, and those videos can be also be submitted as the video. And invited articles. Invited articles, so let us say I'm expert in the plant tissue culture. So the different publishers, it may be Nature, it may be Springer, it may be Elsevier, it may be anyone, they will ask the experts to write articles. They will invite us with a title. For example, today now we are seeing the COVID. So someone who is expert in the virologist, he will the different publishers will ask the virologist to write an article on a COVID. So those will be considered as the invited articles. Is that clear, guys? The types of